Okay, grade 11, grade 10 even. This is a video explaining what we're doing this week, week 7. So in this week's lessons, we're going to explore a little bit about the concept of jealousy. We're going to look at what close textual analysis of a scene looks like, and you are going to create a close textual analysis of a scene. Just a reminder, obviously, by the time you're watching this and starting your lesson, you should have already done the Google Forms about language in Othello. You should have already uploaded your Flipgrid insult, and you should have already transferred your work on themes, symbols, and motifs to your study guide. I will be checking at 7:30 Monday morning, so please make sure it's done. So the first thing is I'm going to look a little bit at jealousy. And obviously jealousy is a really key part of understanding Othello. And it's really important to remember that people often get jealousy and envy confused. Jealousy is when you fear losing something you already have. It's very different from envy, which is where you want something that other people have. So for example, if you see your friend and they've got the latest iPhone and you don't have it, that's envy, that's not jealousy. So first of all, watch the video dealing with jealousy on Google Classroom. And, post a reply about your experience with jealousy. Include what made you jealous and what you learned from the experience, how you dealt with it. If you're uncomfortable about sharing a personal experience, that's fine. Share an example of jealousy that you've witnessed. I'm sure we've all witnessed a case of jealousy in our lives, and I think it's important because jealousy is such a key part of Othello's character flaw. So the first thing we're going to do this week is, that was the first thing, sorry, the second thing we're going to do this week is we're going to look at a close textual analysis of the scene from Othello. So all of the work for this is going to be done in the Google Docs Othello close textual analysis, which looks like this. A copy is made for all of you. So number 1, you need to choose an extract to analyze. Choose 40 lines only. This is really important, and you'll understand later why it can only be 40 lines. And there's a list of the key scenes: Act 1, Scene 1, Act 1, Scene 3, Act 2, Scene 3, Act 3, Scene 3, Act 4, Scene 1, and Act 5, Scene 2. These are sort of normally considered the key scenes of Othello. You don't have to choose one of these key scenes. I'd recommend you do, because there's obviously lots in them to talk about. So choose a scene, choose 40 lines only. So that's your extract. And obviously, as you've done that, you're filling in why you chose the extract, what happens immediately before, what happens immediately after this extract, and why is this extract important. Okay? So then you're going to look at a close textual analysis. So I'm going to show you an example in a minute. You need to copy the text, the Old Ye English, to the left-hand side of the page, and you need to analyze it. I have given you a link to another version of Othello that's slightly easier to copy and paste from. The No Fear version is a bit difficult to copy and paste from because of the way it's formatted. So you're looking for themes, symbols, motifs, characterization, stylistic features such as irony, pathetic fallacy, metaphors, simile. Also think about the diction, and diction just means the choice of words. And it's really important that you include the effect of the stylistic features. There's no use just pointing out that's a metaphor. What is the effect of the metaphor? So it will end up looking something like this. So this is a close textual analysis from lines 40 to 77 from Act 3, Scene 3. So before this extract in this scene, Cassio has been talking to Desdemona, trying to get Othello to accept his apology. But once he sees Othello and Iago approaching, he quickly leaves, and Iago convinces Othello this is because he is feeling guilty. So straight away, Desdemona says, "I've been talking with a suitor here, a man that languishes in your displeasure." And the diction is really important here, the word suitor, because it's really ill-chosen by Desdemona. Obviously, she means that Michael Cassio is asking for Othello's forgiveness. But normally, the word suitor has romantic connotations. So this furthers Othello's idea that Michael Cassio is in love with Desdemona. And you can see how a simple word choice, if she says, I've been talking with a man here, or a former soldier here. And later on in this scene, on lines 48, you have this dramatic irony, because Desdemona says that Michael Cassio, he's just ignorant, he's not cunning, he just made a silly mistake through ignorance, but not through any, not from his cunning nature. So she believes that Cassio's mistake was made in ignorance, not due to anything evil. But we know that actually Michael Cassio's mistake was made because of Iago's cunning nature. Because remember, Iago persuades Michael Cassio to get drunk. So there's dramatic irony here. We know something that Desdemona doesn't. And later here you have this verbal irony, because you have Othello's language towards Desdemona is still very loving. He calls her sweet, yet his actions are not. So he himself at this point is presenting a deception of how he feels. And this sort of links in with the motif of sight and blindness, because Desdemona is sort of blind to her husband's feelings. She keeps going on about Michael Cassio, even though he's clearly not in the mood for it. But also Othello is blind to the truth, but also Othello puts up this front of still being polite with Desdemona. And then we have this idea of Desdemona says, shall we have supper? When are we going to meet? What about tomorrow? And Othello says, no, I can't. I'm meeting the captains at the citadel. And this theme of the incompatibility of military heroism and love. So, remember that the Turkish fleet has been wrecked. So the war's already essentially over. And Othello's just very recently got married, but he still would rather go and meet the captains at the citadel and spend time with his newly wed. And it's this idea that he can't detach himself from a military mindset. He's unable to live as a civilian. And then you have this great situational irony, because Desdemona later, when she's talking about how, Michael Cassio is so sorry for what he's done, she says, but I do understand how, in times of war, examples must be made even of the best men. And this is really ironic, because she's trying to understand her husband's military logic about why is my husband being so harsh on Michael Cassio. And she thinks it's because of the sort of military logic that in the military you have to have discipline, and that's one of the most important things. And sometimes you have to make examples of good soldiers, even if they've, if they've done something wrong. Whereas actually, it's Othello's being driven by his emotions, by his jealousy. That's why he didn't want to forgive Cassio. And then later on, in line 71, Desdemona says, tell me, Othello, I wonder in my soul what you would ask me that I should deny. And it's this fantastic foreshadowing, because obviously later Othello is going to demand from Desdemona questions about Desdemona's fidelity, about whether she's had an affair with Michael Cassio. And she's not going to be able to give him a satisfactory answer, at least not in Othello's eyes. And later here in line 74, you have Michael Cassio that came a-wooing with you. Again, the word woo, normally you would try to woo someone's sort of heart or their hand in love. Cassio is trying to woo Othello, according to Desdemona, but Othello thinks Cassio is trying to woo Desdemona. So you have this wonderful symmetry with the diction, that Desdemona chooses words that can be interpreted with love. And so after this extract, Othello continues to be convinced by Iago that Desdemona is cheating on him, and Desdemona's handkerchief, which remember is this symbol for her fidelity, for her chastity, for her love for Othello, is dropped and picked up by Emilia. Emilia then unwittingly passes it to Iago, and the stage is really set for the final part of Iago's plan. And so why is this extract so important? Because we can see Othello's evolving characterization as he becomes more and more consumed with jealousy. And I think really from this scene on, we as the audience, we're unsure if their relationship is able to survive. You know, we're pretty sure that their relationship is doomed already by this point, even though to each other's faces they're still being polite. So after you've done your close textual analysis, and it will look something like that, you need to create a thesis statement. So we did look at thesis statements last year when we did Animal Farm. So a thesis statement is like your argument, it's your theory. So look at your analysis and see, do all of your stylistic features, do they all point towards one message? Is there a common theme with your stylistic features? And here's an example of a thesis statement. Shakespeare illustrates the incompatibility of military heroism and love through the use of irony, the use of themes, and the use of diction. So if we break it down, the underlying part, the incompatibility of military heroism and love, that is the message of the extract. That's what the extract is showing. So think, what is this extract showing? What is the message of this extract? And then, how does he use? How does he do this? And so in this case, through the use of irony, the use of themes, and through the use of diction. Okay. And if you look on your document, you will see, so what is the message of the extract? How does the author show that message? And then combine it into your thesis statement. So you have space to do your analysis here. This is your thesis statement. This is your extract choice. So that is what we are doing this week. In our class on Tuesday, we're going to have another Google Hangouts call. Thank you to all of us who took part last time, just to check up, see how we're doing. And this is going to be due in by 7:30 on Monday. This is really important because you're going to need this for your formative assessment next week. If this is not done and done to a high standard, your formative assessment is going to be a real headache for you. If you do this well, your formative assessment is going to be really easy. So as ever, I'll be on Google Classroom to explain. Have a good week and make sure we are productive and diligent.